The first time anyone saw Longbeard, the sea went quiet. Not calm, quiet, as if the ocean itself had stopped breathing to listen. It happened off the Flagler Coast, where merchant routes braided across open water like veins beneath skin. The day had begun ordinary. There was a pale sunrise, a steady wind, gulls arguing over invisible scraps, the kind of morning sailors trusted, the kind of morning that made men forget that the world was older than their prayers. Then the fog came. Not a natural fog, not the kind that rolled in soft and gray, smelling of cold and distant rain. This fog arrived with weight, thick as wool and bitter as burnt herbs. It swallowed the horizon first, then the waves, then the ship itself. Men on deck shouted and laughed nervously, as men do when they're trying to convince their own hearts to behave. Lanterns were lit, though the sun still shone above the haze. Hands tightened around ropes and railings. Somewhere below, a cook dropped a pot and cursed. Someone else muttered a verse to a divine they couldn't properly name. And then, a shape moved inside the fog. Not a gull, not a drifting plank, not a whale cresting, a ship. It emerged like a thought dragged up from a nightmare, long, black, and wrong. Its sails were torn, but the tiers looked deliberate, like claw marks. Its hull was carved with old sigils that didn't belong to any port and hadn't belonged to any age this crew knew. The figurehead at the bow wasn't a lion or a saint or a goddess. It was a jaw, a gaping, monstrous jaw with teeth that looked like spines from a sea serpent. Water poured from its mouth in a constant cascade, as though the ocean itself was trapped in its throat. The merchant captain on the Flagler route, an older man named Harrow Vane, stared so long he forgot to breathe. Then the fog shifted, and Harrow saw the man at the helm. Longbeard, 6'5", built like something forged from tide and violence, not bulky like a dockhand, not lean like a knife fighter. He was the kind of strength that looked earned. Every line of his body suggested he had wrestled storms and won. He wore a captain's hat low over his brow, his long black hair pulled back with meticulous care beneath it, as if vanity was the one gentle habit he allowed himself. His beard was dark and thick, hanging just above his neckline, neat enough to imply a steady hand, wild enough to promise that steadiness could snap. But it was his eyes that ended the talking. Green, not dull, not pale, green like fresh grass after rain, like spring refusing to die. They weren't warm, they weren't cruel, they were uninterested, as if everything in front of him was either prey or weather, something to cross through, something to use, something to outlast. His crew moved around him with a strange coordination, not the sloppy hustle of drunk pirates, but a synchronized efficiency that felt more like ritual than labor. They never strayed too far from him. Their eyes flicked to him the way a compass needle flicks north, involuntary,